Hi, welcome to the last session of the day where we had a full day of uh, talking, seeing how zkTLS is maturing and taking over the world. And so I thought for this last session, let's also discuss what's still to come. And so I invited three experts here on stage to discuss that with me. So maybe before we dive in, still maybe one sentence introduction of who you are. Uh, maybe not everybody saw your sessions earlier today, so Maciek.
So I'm a research and DevRel at Vilayer Labs.
Hi everyone, I'm Sachin, founder ZKP2P.
Hi everyone, I'm Sean from Primers, the co-founder of Primers Labs.
Okay, thank you so much. So I think a very good first question is a long one, business models. So I think Sachin, you have an application for you. It's quite clear, but then like Zhang, Maciek, you're more like infrastructure. What are the business models that work there, and how do you think that might change? Like, is it paper attestation, or will attestation really become commodities? Like, I'm interested to know what works there for you guys.
Okay, I think for Primers as infra, the business model is very simple. So that's why we're now building a network. So have two things. So we build a network that for security, for decentralization, and also like in this network, we're not deployed on base. So for every single like zkTLS request, the user's gonna pay a little bit fee to the network, and 80% of the fee goes to the testers, and 20% goes to the network. So that's the very very basic like business model of Primers. So that's why we also want to bring more like zkTLS applications to the network, because you can first of all you can use these services, decentralized zkTLS services, and then you just pay a very small amount of fees to get these attestations instead of this paper attestation there. So that's the goal of Primers. Yeah.
And I personally, I think we should really push to for zkTLS to become a commodity at some point of its evolution. But I think we are nowhere near. Like we've seen even in this room among the day, how many different vendors do we have, like how many evolving approaches. So I think there's still a way to like monetize infrastructure directly by working with your clients and according to their needs. But on the other hand, we figured out that it will become a commodity at some point. So the real value is in the apps. So that's how we decided to build, like to leave a vLayer on a protocol level and build an app on top of vLayer to also show builders how this could be managed. And this is how we ended up with Vouch, which is the catalog of data sources, where very user-facing, user-friendly, with nice UX and also easy integration into some other apps backend. So just to show what's the purpose of building the infrastructure. It's not building for the sake of building, but on top of the infrastructure, there should be an app, which then if the infrastructure is already commoditized, it's fine. If it's not, it is somehow dealing with the fees. But the real business model is in the application.
I guess, yeah, to add to that, I'm more on the paying side of things. Like, I'm the one who is using these vendors. I think in my mental model, I would be fine as a I guess on-chain, um, very native. Like, I understand zkTLS. I've played with the technology itself. So I would always assume there to be a team which does not want to deal with the tools. It wants to build something of its own custom tools, but they would still be fine for paying for the network, because um, because like it is very hard to spin up a network, it's very hard to maintain a network. And we have seen that in like blockchain technology in general, where the node itself is commoditized, the consensus layer is commoditized, how do you do the execution, everything is like just research papers. But when you take that open source code and you run it on a network, you have to pay the validators to run the network and make it, it's like a cloud service basically. So I think the network as a service model definitely works in the on-chain case, willing to pay for that. In the off-chain, I guess in the off-chain case, in the Web 2 world, I think because they have other things to deal with, they're actually running a proper business, they would be willing to pay for it as a software. Like if you, even though the TLS Notary team has built the most best, I guess, secure protocol, it is commoditized, but I as a Web 2 software developer a Web 2 company would be down to pay for someone to host it for me in a cloud service again and run it on my behalf and handle all the customer support services, etc.
Great, let's move on to a next subject. So we've been talking all day about different zkTLS solutions. We're all friends, but we're all a little bit different. So do you think we are ready to start standardizing things so that it's more compatible, that we can swap or experiment with different implementations? Like, is something like Ethereum has with this window.ethereum, you just connect to a zkTLS client? Is that something you guys think is feasible, and on what timelines?
So that's for sure on the way towards commoditization. That's a very important step to standardize things out there. I don't know if we are still not too early, like the space is evolving rapidly. But what I think would be a great idea to have a sort of L2Bit for zkTLS vendors, you know, to check liveness, proof generation time, security guarantees, who spins the network of notaries, who does it centralized way. I have no clear idea of stage 0, stage 1, stage 2, but it would be great to have this like observation booth and see what's happening around, who's doing the real work, who's faking the work, who like what's going on, and that would be a first step towards like the later era standardization and what you mentioned about like window Ethereum thing. So for that we are still too early, but we should start some observability because the projects are mature enough for that. Like there are many projects that are no longer an experiment but running in production, like us here, like Reclaim, like Opacity. There are clients, so I think we deserve some kind of observability in there.
Maybe a follow-up question then before we go further, is that L2Bit, would that be for the protocols or for the end user applications? Because I guess that's where the end users care about, like, what happens with my data.
That's a good point. That's a good point. So yeah, maybe we should have both, right?
I think we should have both. Like if you think about it, like the protocol itself is like the L2, whereas the project is like a DeFi. Like the project has a lot more moving parts. It has the smart contract, so the smart contracts might be insecure as well. So we definitely need like a stats dashboard kind of thing, like a L2Bit for each of the individual implementations and their quirks. And that also helps me as an application developer choose among those vendors and reason about to my users why I have chosen that particular vendor.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a half-half thing, because we can like standardize some of the solutions of the TLS, like APIs, like forms of extension, something like that, because I think it's much better for the the use cases to use, and they don't need to care about the underlying details of implementations of each providers. So that's the part. And the other half is that I think we still need more use cases. We need more ZKP2P, right? So yeah, I think the only way that the only motivation of standardization is that you have a tons of like users applications. You want to reduce the friction of changing our providers or something like that. So that's a kind of the biggest motivation for us to standardize things, especially in the tech side. So I think for now we can start to like standardize the half of the zkTLS solutions, but we still like waiting for more applications because I think our providers are building more like these different architectures. I think most of our providers have different architectures right now. And so this is also, we don't know what's going to happen like 2 or 3 years later. So it can be like totally different, or it can be like become more similar to each other. So we don't know right now. So maybe, let's see.
Maybe another refinement of that. So zkTLS is a powerful tool to get data to apps. The user is in control, but at the same time, there's also risks that zkTLS could be used to steal data. How do you look at that, and any insights there that we could do extra to make sure that doesn't happen?
Yeah, that's a tricky question because you always can do both, right? You can.
Some L2 beat could maybe help there. That's probably not enough.
I think so. I think it might not be enough, but it should give some orientation, like which vendor will not steal your data at least. Like if they perform like a lot of proofs at the time, working with a ton of apps, the liveness is there. That would be a sort of indication how to do that, because that's tricky. That's actually we are running like a lot of tests in our infrastructure, but also we are testing others. And when I'm running a proof with Primus, I'm not afraid. But sometimes I download like a random app. I don't know who are they using, and I might use another Twitter account for this proof of account. Web proof, so my data is not stolen. So I think observability will help, but also the big part of the whole game is point A, open sourcing, point B, auditing. We really pushed for audit of vLayer. We had a great experience doing that. And I think that's a very important part of this journey, because at the end you see the screen where you see vLayer, zkP2P, Primus, Reclaim, Opacity will verify this and this data for you, and you need to log into your bank, to your governmental platform, and you want to be sure that it's better than or as good as official API, right? In a way, so.
I think the responsibility, obviously once the protocol layer is open source and it has been vetted multiple times, beyond that, the responsibility of making sure that like the data is no private data is being taken or no private data is being leaked lies on the applications. I guess there are 2 ways, because these protocols itself are generalized, right? They have no way of telling whether this data is being used for a malicious purpose or is this data being used for the right purpose. I might be trying to asking you to prove your bank account balance, but I might be taking that data off and then selling it to somewhere else. And the protocol itself has no way of telling whether this is the right use case of the tech stack. But yeah, that's why I think it relies on the application layer. It's very similar to like MetaMask. Like MetaMask is an open source wallet extension that helps you store your assets, but then if you connect to the wrong dApp, you lose your assets. If you take the same analogy for data, you have to make sure that you connect to the right dApps. And there are 2, then you have to make the user comfortable. They're signing into their bank. How do you make them comfortable? You make sure that you give them proper instructions. Like on zkP2P, we make sure that the user understands what they're trying. We have a very explicit authenticate step before they initiate the zkTLS process. We give them exactly what we are doing and what we're not doing. Make sure that everything is generated locally and nothing is being sent to the server. And once they use it a couple of times, they get the hang of it and then they continue using it. And the another thing that we do for our, like our extension can be connected by any dApp. Like any dApp can invoke our extension to generate a zkTLS proof. But before you invoke the extension gives you a pop-up that, hey, you are, this dApp is requesting you to connect to this extension and they will be able to take any data from here on. Do you agree? Like, do you give the consent for this dApp to connect? So I think those two things, ideally, like we do not have to maintain our extension. Some of the vendors, they build the extension and we use the extension, maybe the TLS notary extension down the line, and TLS notary extension has a similar pop-up before I connect. It's very similar to MetaMask. Like MetaMask gives you pop-up before you connect to the dApp. So I think, yeah, lots of learnings from the existing blockchain world can be applied to the zkTLS stack as well.
Yeah, I think it's kind of common problem when you're talking about privacy, especially like, even like in Web 2, so you have the same problem. And the only possible ways to solve this problem is like, one, open source, two, maybe standardizations of the algorithms. So yeah, you cannot totally solve this problem because people don't care and they don't know anything about the mechanism work behind every product. They don't know. Even you have like open source that have like standardization, they just trust you. So, so of this part, I think it's more like reputation of your products and like more educations of this technology to make sure that more people to get accepted of this tech and products. I think that's the normal way and the only way we can do for now.
One idea that just popped up, maybe we can train some AIs to do some audits too. And
here's another question, how can I trust AI?
Next question. What are the biggest challenges yet for zkTLS? Is it still technical? Is it UI, something else?
So on the one hand, for sure, the UI of using browser extension is not ideal, let's say. It's a bit of a friction. But I wouldn't say it's the main problem we could be facing in like upcoming months or yeah, through the next year. For us, the biggest focus will be to like deliver and maintain high quality data sources. So not that they just work once, but they have some testability, which is not an easy thing to do because when you are testing a data source which requires your login, it's hard to do an end-to-end test. And also to somehow manage facing any API changes or HTML changes in responses. So this requires a very like a precise, detailed approach to every data source. That's what we've been practicing for the last couple months. We are somehow even rolling like a dedicated team just to keep track of data sources, because when working with clients, the protocol layer is less of a stress for them. They want their data to be delivered like straightforward to their app. And we need to make sure that every single proof will get the same way through our rails. And to do that, this data source observability feature and also with creating, so it's not only I found an endpoint, let's plug it here, let's connect, and we'll see what happens. So yeah, that's something for us on a roadmap to keep track on.
I agree with Masij on that. Like the UX, there are three things I would add to that. Obviously, the extension, making the user download yet another extension for every other zkTLS app that they use is very NGMI. We should push for existing wallet extensions like MetaMask, Rabby to integrate zkTLS into them so that the user does not have to download yet another extension. That maybe hopefully is solved in 1 year. Second, maintaining providers or aka the templates that is like end of the day, we are latching on to private APIs, or most are private APIs, if not public APIs. And they change all the time. The API developer does not give you a guarantee on the private APIs because it's meant for internal use only. So maintaining those and making sure that we are able to update them in real time is very important. I think AI can help a lot there. It's not that hard, like Codex 5 should be able to just look at the existing response and the new response and then generate a template JSON on the fly. The third thing is generating new providers. Like we have found it very difficult for us to integrate new banks because we do not have access to that account, or we do not have access to the data source to be able to look at the private APIs and figure out the right template for that. So generating providers is also like a big problem. Some users are willing to help us with that, but then they are not developers. So it's kind of a tricky situation there. Even there, the AI could help as well. But then again, you have to make sure that the AI is not taking other random data from the user as well.
Yeah, I think UX and developer-friendly thing is that's challenges for zkTLS, and I think it's going to be like solved like in 1 or 2 years. But from my perspective, I think the biggest challenge right now is that we still need more like meaningful use cases. I mean, meaningful use cases. So you can actually, you can prove that I have like Twitter account. Yeah, okay, that's okay. And then what? I don't know. So for most of the use cases now, like they're kind of like proving that existing like data in Web 2, and they always lack different like further applications. And yeah, zkPeer is one of the project that they can use that kind of data to unlock money. So that's the thing that you need to define or find something that you can further utilize these kind of authenticated data to a real application. That's the most important thing. For now, to be honest, I don't see too many like meaningful use cases using that. So we are also about like maybe airdrops things, maybe, and some kind of like Twitter things. That's not quite meaningful. So that's also the motivation we want to move forward from like zkTLS. That's why we want to like move to like connecting with zkVM stuffs, because we can create a possibility that you can use this authenticated data to some kind of on-chain applications. So this framework already there, and you can build new things on how to leverage this kind of Web2 data on Web3 on-chain applications. This is what I imagine that there is kind of a tons of new like maybe financial data related applications, or maybe you can rebuild everything existing in Web3 to in Web2 to Web3. So like, you know, all these kind of internet applications are all data related. Most of them are that. So what if we can leverage the power of blockchain, the settlement of blockchain, and you can move all these kind of things on-chain. So yeah, just imagine that. I think there's kind of huge opportunity that we can build totally new things. So I think that if we find like more use cases in this case, I think we are a very like solved challenge of like using zkTLS. So yeah, that's why I always say that zkTLS is not enough. We have to buy new things. That's my view about this.
Okay, thank you. So the session is called The Future of zkTLS, so we also have to make some predictions. So what are your bold predictions for zkTLS in the next years?
Okay, so I think, I'm pretty sure that we will see a boom of P2P marketplaces next year. There's a MiCA regulation coming up in Europe starting in January. So the buying crypto would boil down to P2P. So we have Sahin here with like probably being the leader of the industry, but I believe that we will see like many more maybe location specific, like to some continents or even some countries, because of the specificity of the market, of the banks there. So we will see a lot of that coming, a lot of contestors to big P2P marketplaces, say Binance or some others, Bybit. And those cannot run without zkTLS. Like, I firmly believe that zkTLS is the most secure way to do like end-to-end P2P fiat to crypto right now. And here's a living proof next to me. So I believe that 2026 will be the year of P2P globally, and we will see a lot of different ways of zkTLSing that.
Thanks for the alpha. I should read more about the MiCA regulation. I think this might be a hot take, but I think like we have had Ethereum for 10 years now, and only applications that you have seen are financial applications. I think the hot take is that next year, or even like any 80 to 90% of the applications that we will see that will be using zkTLS and have something to do with blockchain would only be financial use cases, and maybe P2P as well, but then that would involve some sort of like a trade. It has to be a trade, it has to be a market, because that's what blockchains are the best for. Any data stuff, like as Shang said here, that most of Web2 is data. And then all the data applications that will remain in Web2, all the financial applications will be moved to Web3. We should see like maybe under-collateralized loans and stuff being built by next year, hopefully.
Yeah, our prediction that we're gonna like, I think that it's still like the financial applications. Like it's not just like DeFi, but it's like I said, like original like Web2 financial applications that can be moved on chain. So that's the I think the maybe the best future of the TLS, like, because I always think it as like financial tools to build financial applications, even like using different texts, zkTLS, zkVM. So it's also help us to like building these better like the financial or data related applications there. So I think that's the meaningful future for zkTLS.
And maybe one more on my end. So I believe that zkTLS is very like easy to digest as a source of zk for users, and I believe like it's very visible, it's very touchable in a way, as opposed to some, I don't know, abstract zkVM stuff. So I believe that zkTLS will get its moment with either some DeFi stuff going on or P2P stuff going on, but there will be like a visibility moment for zkTLS next year. I don't know, Vitalik will tweet about zkTLS or something like that, but the touchability of zk in zkTLS, I can also see this when talking to Web2 customers. It's very, like, they are surprised that it's possible to do so, and then when they discover like there is something called zk, it's very interesting and appealing to them. So yeah, another prediction, let's say.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. I think this is a good moment to wrap up. So thank you for co-organizing the event here today. I think we all learned a bunch. So I would say thank you. Go out and spread the zkTLS gospel to all your friends.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.